Hello, and welcome to the Given Name podcast. It's me, Dr. Shanae, and I have something a little special, a little different for you today. The last episode of this season, this is the end of season 3. Season 4 starts next week. But at the end of the season, I like to do something a little special. So I'm going to drop you into a clip that I made about the Workday case that's been going on. This really intersects with my research and with the Given Name podcast because there's so many areas that are for potential discrimination that are on a job application. So listen up. I hope that you learned something, and I hope that you enjoy it. So picture it. You've been applying. By now, the total is clearly over 100. Yes, over 100. Your resume has been sliced and diced for each applicable job, and you have the experience, the degrees, the references. It really isn't a matter of if you're qualified, because that's obvious. Duh. Yet, let's talk about it. You receive a rejection letter the same week because nothing says we carefully considered your candidacy like a form letter at 1:30 a.m. This isn't my story. It isn't a hypothetical. It isn't me being dramatic. This is a real account, and his name is Derek Mobley. Mobley is an IT professional, Black male, over 40, living with anxiety and depression. Let's take a beat here. We have potential age discrimination. Believe it or not, society is designed for able bodied individuals. The older you get into adulthood, the less marketable you are on the job market. Then there's potential for racial discrimination. I think that one is pretty obvious. He's Black. We know how we treat Black people in America. And finally, it says that for Mobley's case, he's living with depression and anxiety, and that's classified as a mental health disability. So we've got a trifecta of possible points for discrimination. And don't get me started on if this were a Black woman. Gender gets involved, and we have over a dozen of possible possibilities. Now, in 2023, he did something brave. Most of us receive a rejection letter, process it, and determine that job just wasn't for me anyway. Okay, they missed out. Mobley sued, not the employer, but the software. The case focuses on what a screening algorithm can do to your application before a human ever lays eyes on it, and why this really isn't a story about one company. It's the story about a system that's been sorting people for a long time, and it just found a faster way to do it. Let's go. His argument is that Workday isn't some neutral piece of background software. Technology is actually deciding who gets a shot, so it's not neutral. It should be held to the same standard as a human recruiter. So the case evolved in May of last year, 2025. A federal judge certified that this nationwide opportunity for those who believe they had been discriminated against by Workday. The claimants were required to be over 40. So let's think about this. If Workday wins, the strongest legal protection we have will be lost. You could apply to dozens of jobs, dozens of times. But if Workday software is sorting the applications to pass on to the recruiter, we are in trouble. They won't even realize that we applied. So here's the question. When a machine makes the call, who's accountable for what it decides? Let's zoom in a bit to get to the ground level, to you as an individual. Let's go through the steps from you pushing submit on your application to the auto reject email landing in your inbox, which is ridiculous. These systems generally work through applicants screening resumes, scoring software that reads your application, pulls out data points, and then ranks you against everyone else, often before a human ever sees your name at all. Some assign a compatibility score, some auto reject anyone under a threshold. Some just rank the whole pool and only surface the top slice to a recruiter. And again, that could be trouble for us. Here's the issue. The models are trained on historical hiring data. Who got hired before, who got promoted before, who is more likely to be the model or successful employee. And that historical data was skewed toward, or rather away from, certain names, certain schools, certain zip codes, ages, resume gaps. The model doesn't correct the preference for or against certain people, it replicates it faster than any hiring manager ever could. So let's take a look at these vulnerabilities, some things that will show up on your application that you maybe didn't anticipate. Age shows up in graduation dates, decades of work history, even the software that you list as your skills. A resume that reads overqualified or dated gets quickly buried. Race and ethnicity can surface through your name, which is my research, the schools you went to, including HBCUs, your zip code, cultural or affinity organizations that you list. Then disability shows up through employment gaps, accommodation language, anything that doesn't fit the shape of an uninterrupted linear career, and gender. The clearest example isn't even Workday. Let's zoom out again for a bit. It's Amazon back in 2018. Amazon built an internal AI recruiting tool and deliberately did not feed it the applicant's gender. The model taught itself to penalize resumes with the word women's in them, as in women's chess club captain, and downgrade anyone from an all women's college. It picked the pattern up on its own from historical data that favored males in tech roles. Amazon scrapped the tool, but that's the exact same mechanism issue in the Workday case, just a different protected class. Caregiving gaps, paternal leave, even pronouns in a reference letter, all fair game for a model pattern matching against decades of unequal hiring. Let this sit with you. Because it's automated, the rejection can come back in mere minutes. That was one of Mobley's experiences. Why would I stress the speed and letting that resonate with you? Great question. It reinforces the fact that there's no countermeasure. There's no lapse of time where a human could look at the resume and say, wait a minute, this person is actually qualified. How overqualified? Your resume is rejected in a matter of minutes. No feedback, no opportunity that your resume may be more closely aligned with another job, nothing at all. Naturally, you may spend some time wondering, why didn't I get that job I was so qualified for? I fit all the criteria and some preferred skills, but still, not even an interview? The same pattern shows up once you get past the resume stage, too. Some employers require candidates to take video interviews that are scored by AI. Have you done one of these? Probably so. In 2025, last year, the ACLU filed a complaint that the software penalized applicants for non-white dialects. Now, let's level set here for a minute. Do we all get what this means? Do we? Even if you get past the screen and complete your video interviews with full confidence, your video may be ranked so low that the hiring team does not consider you a top applicant. You don't move to the next stage because they haven't even seen your video. But again, non-white dialects, that means certain accents are out. Is your name abnormal compared to the other applicants they use to train the system? Your score gets lower. You're out. Also, people with disabilities, if you have some sort of speech impediment, that may rank you lower. So this is a technical problem disguised as a personal failing. It's not you, it's the technology. Now, let's zoom out from just individual cases and look at this from the macro level. AI and algorithms didn't invent discrimination. It automated something that already existed. The research for discrimination in applications has been established. Names, addresses, schools, etc. They have shown a significant effect on callback rates for jobs and housing. Now, what's changed is the delivery mechanism. We went from human reviewing resumes with unconscious bias, one decision at a time, to a system making that decision millions of times in one day. That's the systemic piece. And welcome to sociology. When the person is biased, you can point to the person. When a company sends a use ready software to tens of thousands of companies, the responsibility evaporates. We get into a pass the buck situation. The employer says, we just use the platform. The vendor says, we just built the tool. The company configures it. Meanwhile, in between are the people applying for jobs they are actually qualified for without any explanation for their rejection. This happens because efficiency became the highest value in hiring. Process as many applications as possible, as fast as possible, as cheap as possible. Again, the algorithm is based on historical data, and America has a long past of discriminating against minority populations. The hiring managers didn't have to sit in a room and conspire against certain applicants. It's built into the system. This went on and continues because the people it targets have the least visibility into why their applications keep getting rejected. They have the least amount of agency in this situation. The responsibility falls to no one, and that makes it even harder to prove that you've been discriminated against. That makes it hard to argue against. It's hard to name the reason for discrimination in a court, which is part of the reason why this case took till 2023 to get filed. Now let's talk numbers. People with disabilities are unemployed at about double the rate of people without. Cross disability with race, and the gap widens. Older workers show a different pattern. Discrimination in this group doesn't look like high unemployment rates. It shows up in long-term underemployment. Gender. Let's talk about it. Equal Pay Day is March 26th for white women. Women make up over half of the workforce, but only about 82 cents for every dollar a man makes, meaning women have to work about 15 months for their pay to equal what a man in their position made in 12 months. Another way to put this is that a man can stop working in October, and his check will be the same of a woman doing the same job for a full year. So if we mix race with disability, age, and gender, whew, Black women's equal pay day is July 21st. Latina equal pay day, October 8th. Not to mention our current economy, where Black women have largely been forced out of the workforce. The intersectionality of identities makes for a unique opportunity to discriminate against someone because it could be race, it could be class, it could be gender, ability, something else. It's hard to prove. I'd hate to give you all this news with no way out. So, if you're in New York City, you're legally entitled to know when an employer's using an automated tool on your application, and you can request an alternative process. If you keep getting instant middle of the night rejections that feel automated, start a log. Date, time, role, company. The pattern is exactly the kind of evidence that turned Derek Mobley's frustration into a federal case. And if you genuinely believe you were screened out for your race, age, sex, or disability, you can file a charge with the EEOC. It's free and it does not require a lawyer to start. So we're here, present day. Mobley v. Workday is still active, still unresolved. And honestly, it's one of the most important cases most people have never heard of. That's why I did this. It asked the question that could determine the job landscape for the next decade. And we know the reverberation effects that has on wealth and generational wealth. I'll keep tracking this as it develops. If it's not clear, I'm definitely invested. This is the work that led me to get my PhD. In the meantime, I hope you have an amazing day. I'll see you next time.